Alright, what's up everybody? We'll go ahead and get started here in just a moment. But first we'll do the quick audio check and visual check. So if you guys could hear us and if we're streaming in 1080p, let's go ahead and give a thumbs up in the chat. And also if you refresh your web browser, you should be able to rewind. I just enabled the DVR. So let me know if you can go ahead and do that, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day weekend, and we'll get started. Thanks. Alright everybody, I think we will go ahead and get started. So good evening all, and welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. Today is Monday, it is May 13th, 2024. It's about 9:23 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are reporting live directly outside of 432 Park Avenue. It's finally a beautiful day in New York. A bit cold though. I feel as if this has been a colder start to spring than normal. It was raining this morning again. It was kind of gray and cloudy, 50 degrees, all the way up until about maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the temperature slowly started to kick up a little bit. I think it's probably around, I don't know, maybe 57 degrees right now. Little bit of overcast, little windy. We'll just have to get through with it. Before we start and kind of dive right into it, I came across an interesting sort of a talk by Palo Alto Networks, which I thought I would share with the group here. So if you're interested in cybersecurity or artificial intelligence, or maybe you work in the cybersecurity field, I think this is a really, really good video to watch. It's called Unveiling the Future of AI and Cybersecurity. Prepare for a brand new fight. This was recorded on May 7th of 2024, and it's essentially a presentation by the CEO of Palo Alto Networks. So if you type !PANW in the chat, or I'll go ahead and drop the link to the YouTube, I would highly, highly recommend you check it out. Really, really great, really great presentation. Kind of gives an idea of the expansion in terms of the total addressable market in cybersecurity due to AI. And it talks about a lot of the things that we cover on the stream about the future of cybersecurity, the consolidation in the market, how there's a lot of customers that, they're sick of going to multiple different providers to purchase these products and services, right? They would much rather have one dedicated point of contact or one company that can provide them a portfolio of solutions, or what's called the platformatization of cybersecurity. So you can have your firewall, you could have your identity and access management, you could have your zero trust cloud management, all under one house, all under one roof, I should say, and that's kind of what Palo Alto is trying to do. I think Palo Alto Networks, CrowdStrike, Zscaler, those three, also maybe CyberArk in there as well, are probably the dominant forces in cybersecurity. I spent about, probably over 10 years in tech. I've sold some cybersecurity solutions, particularly on the MDM side, mobile device management, EMETET, threat protection. And so I kind of know what large enterprises are looking for. So anyway, I'll kind of digress. Very interesting talk. So if you want to listen to that, it's really an educational piece on the future of cybersecurity, how it's going to be deployed throughout infrastructures amongst corporations, not only in the United States, but all over the world, and how artificial intelligence is going to impact that. So with that being said, everybody, we are officially in a new week, and we are officially in a busy week, okay? Tech earnings have mainly come and gone. We do have NVIDIA coming up on the chopping block, however, but Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet have since reported. Combined, those 5 companies brought in about $93 billion in net income, not EBITDA, but net income profitability. As we look towards this week, we're going to have some major earnings, but it's going to come in the form of, more of a consumer-led, consumer-oriented, I should say, category. So number one, we have Walmart is going to be coming up on the chopping block, ticker symbol WMT. Then we're going to hear from Home Depot, ticker symbol HD. They're going to be reporting this week. And this just comes after a worse than expected consumer confidence or consumer sentiment report that came out on Friday just before the weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see how Walmart and Home Depot report moving forward. And also, I'm particularly interested in their forward guidance. As it relates to Home Depot, it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of the home improvement projects are doing, how corporate accounts are doing in terms of the home builders and the like. Moving on from that, tomorrow we are going to hear from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. He is going to be speaking yet again. Then on Wednesday, we're going to get inflation data. We are going to hear from the Bureau of Labor Statistics as they report their CPI data for the week. Tomorrow, we're going to get PPI data. So it's going to be a busy week, and we got to buckle in and prepare for that. Last but not least, China is on the chopping block. Massive companies from Alibaba, ticker symbol BABA, Baidu, ticker symbol BIDU, and then also Tencent, ticker symbol TCEHY, and JD.com will be reporting earnings from tomorrow through Friday. So it's going to be an action-packed week on Wall Street. Final thing I'll say before we wrap and get started, go ahead and check your email, everybody, because last Thursday I did send out our free investing newsletter. where we covered a lot of ground. We talked about sector focus, and we even included our 2024 reading list recommendation for the summer. So if you're traveling, if you're going to be flying, if you're going to be hanging out on the beach, and you're looking for some good reads as it relates to the financial markets and as it relates to business in general, go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and then you will receive all of our market data every other Thursday right as the market closes. So let me go ahead and wrap up here, everybody. I'll close up my laptop. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will get started. I trust everybody has had a wonderful Mother's Day and a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. Thanks so much for joining. Alrighty, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got, my friends. Hey, Austin City Limits, good to see you. Doc 7, welcome. See, Martin is here, sunshine after rain. Good to see everybody. Happy Monday. Wakey, wakey. It's time to get back to work, so to speak. And hopefully things will pick up this week. Now, I do have one last quick announcement. Wednesday, okay, this Wednesday there will be no live stream. I have some business travel. I'm going to be flying to South Florida. So I'm going to be leaving in the afternoon on Wednesday. I'll probably land pretty late. There is a slight chance if I get in on time and there's no traffic, we will be live from downtown Miami or Brickell on Wednesday, but most likely we will not, and then we will get back on our regular schedule Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where we will be reporting live from Miami, Florida. And then Sunday night, late, I'm going to be flying back to New York City. Hal T is here. What's going on? Thanks for joining us. Brad's Brains is Ride the Wave. Yeah, I mean, you know, Bitcoin, that it needs to break back above the 50-day. And I think this is an interesting opportunity for Bitcoin to do that. Massive run. I mean, we had a major bull run. We've tested a brand new all-time record high, and I think we're handling here. So as long as we don't handle too much, because the longer the handle gets, the higher the likelihood of a breakdown instead of a breakout. You know, assuming we have a hotter than expected inflation report coming in tomorrow and Wednesday, maybe that could provide a little bit of catalyst action. Hey, MD, what's going on? Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, Trax is do the live stream through the TSA. Alan, what's going on? Says, let's dig into the major story, the Roaring Kitty. I actually didn't even know about it until after the market closed. I have all of those ticker symbols muted across my social media accounts, such as X and the like. I don't even look at those tickers, just to be honest. I think that for most people, this fixation on, you know, the meme stocks and all the nonsense, I really just don't think it's worth anybody's time. That's just my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but that's just me. So I don't even really look at the price action in any of those companies. And the reason why I say that is, in the investment business, it's very, very important, and these are pretty cool cars here, the Aston Martins. It's important to protect your intellectual capital and just your thoughts and preserve your mental capacity. And a lot of this stuff is just noise, right? You know, the meme stuff and, you know, the short squeezes. You know, I'm interested in focusing on good companies that generate earnings over time and hold on to these businesses for long durations. I think, you know, in my view, right, and this is just my personal opinion, again, doesn't mean I'm right. I don't know, I just don't see a positive return on my investment for me to, you know, fixate on GameStop or any of these other dying businesses So I've muted the ticker symbols, and I guess there was a big short squeeze today. But those events, right, that happen in the market, those are not things that you can replicate over long durations to grow, your assets under management by just dabbling around in GameStop, especially if you're managing other people's money and you're responsible for other people's money. You need to focus on running a systematic framework for investing that you can replicate. I had no idea that this Richard Mille store was here. I feel as if this is new. I don't know. I've never noticed it. It's interesting. It's actually a part of the retail storefront at 432 Park Avenue. So I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe there's a separate entrance from 432 where you can have private access to these retail storefronts. Interesting. I've never even noticed maybe there was scaffolding here? I don't know. I'm getting distracted. Doc 7 says buy great companies at great prices. Yeah, and I guess there's nothing wrong with, having fun and essentially just gambling on those type of things, but just not for me. Not for me. Hey, what's up, Hawaii? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Jeff W277 says I rolled the dice with 61 shares of GME after it spiked over $35. Nice. Yeah, I mean, just for me, it's just it's just a non-starter. There's a lot of real opportunities out there, and I also feel with this whole, meme stock kind of saga, and not to be like a Debbie Downer or anything like that, or a buzzkill. I mean, the stuff is hilarious. It is quite funny, and it's quite entertaining. I mean, nobody can deny that. I mean, it's hilarious. But I can't help but probably notice a correlation between the access to online casino gambling and sports betting and the rise of these kind of like meme style stocks or companies, right? Because and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe some of you know a little bit more about this than I do. The whole purpose of buying like these specific tickers is because they were memes on the internet, right? Like they were getting sent around on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and they were like kind of funny things to do. And apparently there were a lot of hedge funds that were short a lot of these dying companies. So it's kind of a way to have the retail traders stick it to the man, so to speak. At least that's the thesis that I understand from the meme stock stuff. But yeah, I do believe that the sports betting, having it directly on your phone, these casino gambling slot machines, having it directly on your phone, is kind of putting the impression, particularly on younger investors, that the stock market's kind of the same thing. Which I don't know if that's a good thing for the long term. But again, being an optimist, maybe one way we could reframe this is it's gotten a lot more people to participate in the financial markets. Now, that participation not be the form of the participation that I would like to see. However, think about it like this. Let's try to be optimistic about this. Let's say if you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you open a Robinhood account, you do it under your parents' name, because I think if you're under 18, you're not allowed to open it yourself. You gotta, do it under a parent's name or something like that. You're gambling on options on these meme stocks. Let's say you make 20 grand, you think you're rich, and then you lose it all, right? Which is what happens 10 times out of 10. It's probably a good learning opportunity, and it probably sparks curiosity amongst young people to say, wow, I made, let's say, $20,000 in the market just speculating on these memes, right? We'll just call them the memes. But then I lost it all. That's going to pique their curiosity to say, what if I could actually maintain a profitable track record? They're probably going to do deeper diligence, do a deeper dive. Maybe they'll start to, apply to internships, learn how to invest the proper way. And it's probably going to get a lot of young people involved in the investment business, interested in how companies operate, interested in how companies scale than ever before. So in that sense, I think it might be a very good thing. Crypto Memes says memes will bring in the retail traders. Brad says, I'm fascinated that the Securities and Exchange Commission didn't get involved. I've told you about the trouble. Oh yeah, I don't know. Well, I think they will get involved. That I do think they will get involved. But it's a fine line between, is this quote unquote, it's actually a very interesting conversation, because let's say this guy, Roaring Kitty, right, is the handle name. Now apparently he made a tweet or a post just as of a meme. I don't even think he tweeted about the stock, right? Is that right? I don't even think he sent out a tweet about the stock at all. He just sent out a random tweet. It didn't have anything to do with the game or whatever. And the stock goes up 100%. Is that considered market manipulation or no? I don't think so. But I feel as if you can make a case for it. So in the age of the internet and in the age of instant access on social media, are regulators going to have to kind of rethink what market manipulation is? I think they may have to, because if you're on X, right, or Twitter, in my opinion, that's the best place to be if you are interested in the financial markets, because there's actually a lot of legit fund managers who spend a lot of time on X, and they post their research and their thoughts for free, and you could chat back and forth with them, and a lot of the times they'll respond. You could join these Twitter spaces or these X spaces. So the point I'm trying to make is the markets have never been more interconnected. X is kind of like a mini Bloomberg terminal in itself. If anybody has a Bloomberg terminal, there's a feature where you could ping other managers and like direct message them. X is that on steroids. So let's say if a big fund manager like Bill Ackman, makes a tweet about a company and it's not favorable, and the stock's down 5%, could the regulators come after? And this is just an example. Could the regulators come after Bill Ackman and say, hey, you're manipulating the stock? But it's not, because it's freedom of speech and you're just posting about a stock. But I think it's going to be an interesting fine line. We'll see. What do you guys think about that? Brad says, part of me hates it, but yeah, they'll have to get involved. This will get out of control. I honestly don't know what the right answer is to that, because I am a free speech absolutist. But when it comes to, I don't even know how you would rank that, because let's say if you're a notable fund manager on Wall Street and you're running several $1 billion and you're just tweeting up a storm about, how this company sucks, and maybe it's not even related to the stock. Maybe you take, your family for a vacation and you stay in a Hilton hotel, and the fund manager tweets, oh, this Hilton hotel stunk. It didn't give good customer service. They were mean to my kids, and then the stock is down 5-10%. It's possible that that could be deemed as market manipulation. So, I don't know. MD says we need to ban congressional stock trading. Doc 7 says I agree, protect the First Amendment. MD says he posted a cartoon picture of someone leaning into the computer. Yeah, so that doesn't, technically that doesn't have anything to do with this stock that he owns. But you could make the case, right, if he was called before Congress, which he was before, you could make that case to say, hey, when you made that post, darn well that you have a huge influence and a big following,
that they're going to take that in a certain way to say, okay, let's go buy this random stock. It's going to get interesting, but if I was like a judge and it was put before me and it says, okay, if this guy makes a post on the internet of a cartoon character leaning forward in his chair, is that considered stock market manipulation? I don't think you can make that case. But I don't know. It just goes to show what the power of the internet, right? Like something like that could trigger this massive, essentially, squeeze that happened. Now here's another interesting thing to think about. At the very beginning of the stream, I recommended that Palo Alto Networks keynote speech. So it was the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, and essentially he's standing up. It's like an hour keynote. If you want to watch the keynote, you could type !PANW in the chat, right? So once again, !PANW. And about a quarter of the way through the keynote, he's talking about all these like AI troll farms, right, that try to do these DDoS attacks on corporate infrastructure. Could you imagine the craziness that we're going to get into someday, where you'll have all of these fake accounts on the internet, right? Be it X, be it Facebook, Instagram, and they can make an AI clone of somebody, right? Like a deep fake, I think is the traditional term. So let's say like an AI troll farm makes a deep fake of, I'll pick a different fund manager, Stan Druckenmiller, right? And they clone his voice to run advertisements across the internet saying, I'm so bullish on this stock, or I'm so bullish on this coin. And it looks like Stan Druckenmiller, it sounds like Stan Druckenmiller, but it's not. That could potentially cause these stock prices to go all over the place. Some of these deep fakes, I'm not sure if you guys have seen any on the internet, they're crazy real. Like they look really real. So I think regulators are going to need to do something about that too. And I don't even know how you would prevent something like that. Because if one of these AI troll farms, right, they put $100,000 behind advertising. Hold on, let's just wait. Yeah, MD says totally, hey Esmeralda, good to see you. So let's play this scenario out, because this is actually interesting. All you would need to do, and I'm not saying do this, I'm just giving an example, is some nefarious actor out there, right, makes a deep fake of a George Soros or Stan Druckenmiller or Paul Tudor Jones. Name your stock market money manager. They put $100,000 of Twitter or Facebook or Instagram advertisements behind it and just advertise this deep fake to millions of people. That's going to go out and it's going to influence the stock price. I don't know how you would prevent that. There needs to definitely be some sort of, I'm sure these companies are working on these preventative measures, but now I know what many of you are thinking, or what many of you are going to say. You're like, well, Facebook and X should review those advertisements before they go out, which I agree. However, has anybody ever been on YouTube and you're scrolling through YouTube and you see those advertisements where it's like, it says, Mr. Beast, if you click here, you're going to get, free $5,000 in this crypto coin. Those are obviously scam advertisements. I can't be the only one who's gotten those, right? And I see scam advertisements all the time, particularly marketing these cryptocurrencies. I believe with AI, we've been talking about the positive use cases, obviously, but you could have a lot of nefarious actors really taking advantage of people, which is sad. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's another bull thesis for cybersecurity for sure. Josie says, yes. Jeff Baker says, oh yeah, I saw that too. Jimmy B, what's going on? Hey, FredX, touring different places. UniJ23, good to see you. New England Crypto says, Tom, YouTube does a very poor job with the AI fake advertisements, no matter how much we report the XRP/Ripple ones especially. Oh yeah, I definitely get hammered with those. Totally. Yeah, so it's interesting. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. Now, speaking of cybersecurity, I believe Palo Alto Networks is on the earnings chopping block this week. So they're going to be reporting earnings too. But tomorrow is when we start to get the bouts of inflation data out. So tomorrow we have the PPI, and we're going to hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. And then Wednesday, we're going to have the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. Nina, what's going on? Eddie says, which street is this? So I wanted to take you guys on a walk down Central Park South for a particular reason. Now, this is the JW Marriott Essex House, and I told you guys that they were doing complete renovations here. And I'd like to announce they're finally complete with the renovation. This is a new steakhouse. It's unbelievable, the renovations on the inside. This used to be like a very small, like very, very quaint bar and grill. But now, as we can kind of see in, I believe this has 1 Michelin star, this steakhouse. You can kind of see the inside, right? And the architecture or the style on the inside is beautiful. It matches the Art Deco style perfectly. So if you're in the neighborhood and you want to do something fun, something different and new, just come to the Essex House right here on Central Park South and check out this new restaurant. It is just off to the left of the lobby of the main JW Marriott Essex House. It's pretty cool, and hopefully they'll take all this scaffolding down soon. Because it's covering the entire place. Now, last but not least, they have also expanded the main lobby in the Essex House, so it's like double the size. They did a really, really good job, but they kept all of the finishes and the fixtures in tune with all the original stuff of the hotel, which is really cool. So, H. Potter says, there are really that many people eating out at night in New York City? Oh yeah, man, like, it's been wild. And this is something I've been talking about too. Restaurants here are packed. Packed. Every time I go out to eat with coworkers or clients, places are mobbed. The last time I went to Del Frisco's, I think it was on a Tuesday, and there was not a table empty. So if you figure some of these tables, 5 people to a table, $120 a plate, restaurants are probably doing pretty good. Vincent from Florida says, Tom, if you come to South Florida this weekend, it's going to be brutally hot. Well, I will be there to enjoy the brutal hot. Troy says Palo Alto Networks reports Monday of next week. Copy that. Now, Central Park looks really, really full tonight, doesn't it? you finally have the leaves pretty much almost fully in now, which is great. Now that we talked about all the crazy stuff with these AI deepfakes, you could only imagine how wild things are going to be looking into the future with attacks specifically, not only on corporate infrastructure, but like sovereign attacks. So like nation states attacking other states and countries trying to meddle in their elections. Hint, hint, this is an election year. If you don't think that there's going to be other countries, like adversaries of the United States, deploying cybersecurity threats or cyber threats against the US to meddle in our elections, I think you're pretty delusional, respectfully. So the theme, right, if we had to pick, and I believe I wrote about this in our first issue of the Behind the Street newsletter for 2024, one of the main themes that I picked was cybersecurity. And it's kind of like a double-edged sword in a way. Not really a double-edged sword, but if cybersecurity does really good, which I think it will do, the sector overall, the overall spending on cybersecurity, software, products, infrastructure is just, I think the estimates that they have now, you could probably double that, particularly with, you know, this new trend of artificial intelligence. I think you're going to see corporations spending more on their cyber infrastructure. I think you're going to see governments, both state and local municipalities, forced to spend more on cybersecurity software to fortify their infrastructure. And I think that's going to be a huge tailwind for the sector as a whole. Look at these beautiful apartments here, overlooking Central Park. Love this building. It's right next to 200 Central Park South. Could you imagine just sitting out on your balcony here and you have a direct view of Central Park? It's like the dream right there. So peaceful. Now, I guess I'll ask the viewers in the chat, do we have any IT leaders, or maybe you work at a company and you've been present in a meeting, or you've gotten a note from your corporation telling you to kind of beware of these cyber threats, particularly of these imitate attacks. I'm sure if anybody here works for a large corporation, you've probably gotten on multiple occasions emails from your corporation telling you to watch out for phishing attacks or imitate, which is essentially these emails that are disguised to look like they're coming from your boss, so to speak, and it'll look totally real. And it'll tell you to click a link. However, if you click that link, it's going to download malicious software onto your computer, and that could possibly infect the entire corporate infrastructure. So, what are you guys hearing out there or seeing? Are your companies planning to increase spend on cybersecurity? Is there like a heightened sense of security now that we're in election year? Or, I mean, what are kind of you seeing out there? I mean, I'm hearing from almost everybody that they are going to fortify their cybersecurity infrastructure. Giggling Bear says we are always being tested in our phishing in the email. Dale says my company gives us regular training. Hey, Cape Cod Sarah, what's up? Nina says yes, we are all in forward to AI, new software. NBA Elias, what's going on? Solar says always check your email, alias. Nina says it's irritating. I have long list of passwords for each app / comp software due to protection from cyber. My law firm is corp, so they're investing big bucks. Oh my God, I mean, particularly for a law firm, right? I mean, that is pretty ripe for a pretty ripe target. Also healthcare, by the way. Speaking of Palo Alto Networks, I believe a subsidiary of United Health was recently hacked, and there was millions of patient data and information being leaked. Many people in the chat quite possibly were affected by that. So there's always these big breaches and data hacks. It's crazy. Oh, that was almost a fender bender. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of almost accidents lately. Hey, thank you so much for your very generous 5,000 Korean won donation. Says I want to live in a luxurious house with a swimming pool and palm trees in Miami, Florida, in the United States of America. Most people in Korea only dream. Well, 안녕하세요 to you. Thank you so much. I would say do it, my friend. You're more than welcome here to the US, and I think you'll love it, by the way. Speaking of the Korean population in South Florida, it's actually growing at a blistering pace. There historically wasn't that many Koreans, if any, in South Florida. There's a town called North Miami Beach, and they're trying to make that the Koreatown / Chinatown of the South. So you'll see a lot of Korean restaurants popping up. You'll see a lot of Chinese restaurants popping up. So I think you'd like it. Miami's a really great place. There's a lot of good job opportunities there. And now there's also a growing Korean population. So hopefully we'll be seeing you around in South Florida. Thank you so much for your donation. Nina's is our clients are large market chains, Texas oil companies, expensive gyms, etc. RB's Tom, an unsolicited endorsement, recently in contact with several mid to large private equity firms. Though project not a fit for them, Evercore is at least courteous. Yeah. Evercore is a boutique investment bank. They've actually been performing pretty well in terms of their stock price. Well, good luck on whatever deal you're working. Hopefully it goes well. Wishing you the best. Hey, Ken. All right, guys, so we're looking at 1 Central Park West. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. And I always point out this little nuance about the building. Pay attention to the lights at the top half of the building, and then pay attention to how many lights are on at the bottom third. You'll notice a lot of them, right? Well, that's because the first 16 stories of this building, which is 1 Central Park West, the Trump International Hotel and Tower, the first 16 stories is the hotel. Everything else are condos, so people own those units. And there's a lot of international buying or international owners in the building, so many of them actually sit vacant. But it's a great building. Definitely has high common charges, definitely a high HOA. That's because you're kind of paying for all the amenities of the 5-star hotel. They have a swimming pool, they have a gym, they have a Michelin star restaurant, which I'll show you guys in a minute. Jean Georges, it's like a really nice steakhouse. And that could all be catered to your apartment, assuming you were to ever buy a unit at 1 Central Park West. You know, thinking about, cyber threats a little bit more, ransomware has really become a huge multi-billion-dollar industry. And many corporations have had to pay huge amounts of ransom in order to get control of their corporate infrastructure. So if you think about a small to medium-sized business, could you imagine if a small business, a medium-sized business gets hit with one of these major cyber attacks and they can't afford the ransom? Well, that could potentially mean, quite literally, not exaggerating, that could literally mean the business is no longer. So if you're a chief technology officer at a medium-sized business or even a large corp, you are probably, just to cover your own ass, right, to protect your own job, you're probably doubling, if not tripling down on investing in cybersecurity products to protect your corporate infrastructure. Because if you're a CTO and your company gets hit with a major cyber attack, probably not going to be the CTO for much longer. So there's an automatic and immediate allocation that has to go to cybersecurity. And if you think about what these criminals are more likely to target, a lot of times they're more likely to target critical infrastructure. So if you're thinking about, government spending, I think that's going to balloon. Utilities. I mean, think about all the cyber criminals that are trying to go after our power infrastructure in the United States, local water municipality, waste management. I mean, it's definitely something I think every American needs to be paying attention to. Someone says that's why we need cybersecurity insurance companies. I'm sure that will be a market that pops up. Zabatatis is paying ransoms is illegal. Pay is part of the problem. I understand the reasons, but many times the pay and criminals don't honor the deal. I feel as if a major hospital chain was just affected by a major cybersecurity attack and they had to pay a ransom. I could be mistaken. But I mean, you're right. I mean, imagine if you pay the ransom, and it's usually, the ransom is in form of a cryptocurrency. Guys, look at how beautiful Billionaire's Row looks tonight. Hey, Mars says, hey Tom, why do older Soho apartments who don't seem to have any modern or any real amenities have high HOA fees? Well, because to maintain the property, since they're old, it's very, very expensive to do so. That's why oftentimes, if you look at some of these older cooperatives, the buildings could literally be, ridiculously old. The older the building is, the harder it is to maintain. And the more expensive it is to maintain, particularly if you have some sort of special assessment. Let's say if you have to put a new elevator in. Let's say if you have to put a new HVAC system in. Those things are expensive. And a lot of the times that can make the HOA fees go way, way up. Also, to insure them, it just depends on the building. Some buildings and apartments are more expensive to insure than others. Sarah says, United Healthcare paid a ransom. Was it United Health or was it the subsidiary that was owned by United Health? Because, it seems like there's so many of these attacks that you kind of lose count, which is unfortunate in itself. It's not funny. But I feel as if the most recent where Palo Alto Networks actually had to get involved is that subsidiary of United Health that got hacked. There was a bunch of data that was exposed. And if you watch that CNBC interview with Jim Cramer and the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, apparently Jim Cramer's data was compromised in that hack. And so he gets all these spam calls and solicitations. It's wild. I'll give you guys a quick tip, a quick cyber tip. Because I used to work for a major telecom company. And a very, very notable scam nowadays that everybody needs to watch out for is SIM swapping. Okay, is SIM swapping. So essentially somebody will call up, all they have to know is your phone number. They'll essentially call up the phone company and say, hey, my name is Walks from Wall Street, I lost my SIM card. Could you give me a new SIM card? And they trick these people, or the telecom people, into deactivating the SIM card that's in your phone and shipping you one overnight to that different address. Now the criminal has your SIM card, so now they can pretty much reset all of your passwords to all your bank accounts, because let's say you log into your Chase account, you click forgot my password, it's going to send you an authenticator for the two-factor, and it's going to send you a text. Well, it's not going to send you the text now, it's going to send the criminal the text. And now they could change your passwords to everything. So there's one way that you can totally prevent this. And I think everybody should do this like ASAP, okay? You're gonna call your phone company, if it's Verizon, if it's T-Mobile, if it's AT&T, and you have them put a notation on your account to specifically say, no changing of phone numbers or no swapping of SIMs unless I'm present in the store and show you my ID. So if the customer service representative sees that on your account notated, they will not deactivate your SIM card unless you are physically present in the store and showing your ID. And I've seen this so many times, and it's crazy. And some people are very, very sophisticated at it, but there's an easy fix. So just go to your phone company, either in person or call them up and say, in order to make any changes on my account, I can only do it and I have to be there in person and you have to look at my ID. And then you won't have any of those problems. Now this may inconvenience you a little bit because let's say you actually do lose your phone and you need a SIM card shipped overnight and you don't want to go into the store. It's going to inconvenience you a little bit because you have to find a store to go into. But I think the inconvenience is a lot better than, you know, having your bank account strained. So that's kind of my one little piece of advice. So that little piece of advice could save you a lot of heartache. Trust me, I used to work in corporate dealing with these big Fortune 500, Fortune 50 accounts, and they would specifically target, you know, VPs of companies, sometimes CEOs of companies. They would get their phone numbers, SIM swap them, and they would you know, do bank transfers and all types of crazy stuff. Yeah, Chris, that's true. The eSIMs. However, I think the scam would work the same, right? If you just have, you know, a blank iPhone, you could change the eSIM to that. Steven, oh my God. Hey Dario, what's up? Lee says that won't work as employees are the culprit many times. Yeah, I mean that, geez. If you really want to go deep into it, Lee's actually, you're right. Now, not to be like a super pessimist, but you were correct. A lot of times, I'm actually not going to say a lot of times, very seldom. I think major phone companies do a pretty good job at, you know, hiring people with integrity. At least that's what I believe. I mean, I hope. But yeah, sometimes there's internal, you know, nefarious actors who work for these companies who can work with these organized crime rings to go into people's accounts, change things. That is true, but I feel as if very seldom that happens. But you're 100% right. I've heard about that too. I think in conclusion with this conversation, it's the more the internet gets built out, the more these AI tools and AI features are made readily available to the public. It's going to change the world mostly in a good way, but that means you really need to double down on your cybersecurity. Thus, that's why I think cyber is going to have a big tailwind over the next decade. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. Also, if you guys enjoy these financial topics that we talk about each and every night, we do write a free investing newsletter called Behind the Street, where we cover the US equity market, fixed income, real estate, and all these different trends in the market. We send it out every other Thursday, right as the market closes. If you want to sign up for free, you can scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and and that will take you to our Substack. And again, we publish every other Thursday, right as the market closes. Robert A. says, thanks for the great advice as an old retiree. Another piece of advice, and I have a little bit of a background. I've sold cybersecurity software in the past. The biggest thing I could say for seniors, okay, is don't click on any links in email, particularly like personal Gmail. If you're still working, if you're older, just headed towards retirement, but you still have a corporate job, it's probably a little bit safer to click links within a corporate email because they usually have filters, particularly on Outlook. But if you have a Gmail account and somebody sends you, an email that says, your insurance is going to expire, there's a lot of those scams. They'll have you click a link to prevent that from happening, but the link is actually a malicious piece of software that then gets downloaded onto your computer. So I'd say, generally speaking, don't click any links unless you know the email address is from a person you know. That's what I'd say. Yeah, Hawaii makes another really good point. So you've seen kind of the Emotet attacks morph over the years from email to text message. I would say 100% of the time, don't click any links in a text message. Okay, I don't care what phone number it's coming from, I just wouldn't click any links. Because a lot of times, those will be like scam accounts, and they'll say, hey, your Con Edison bill is past due, please pay now before we turn off your electric. Next thing you know, you want to be a good person and pay your bill, but it's a fake number, and you just clicked a link that now has downloaded a piece of malware on your phone. So don't click any links, and generally speaking, actually not generally speaking, 100% of the time, the IRS is never going to call you to settle a tax dispute. So if you have somebody that's calling you from the IRS or any of the other federal agencies saying that you're behind on taxes or anything, that is 100% a scam. So it's important. All right, we're back on 57th Street, right outside of 217 West 57th Street. Right outside of Nordstrom Tower or Central Park Tower. I really like what they did with the facade. It's almost like a wave. It's kind of like, looks like the ocean. Yeah, Melissa 2087 says the IRS is only by mail usually. Now, there's also a lot, if you really want to take your security up a notch, there's a lot of free versions of cybersecurity that you could download on your phone, like a mobile device manager. So, for example, on my phone, right, I have an MDM, or a mobile device manager. This is actually one of the pieces of software that I would use to sell to large enterprises. So essentially, if you have this application downloaded on your phone, right, just call it an MDM or an EMM, Enterprise Mobile Manager. Let's say if somebody comes up, and steals my phone. I really don't care, because I could just go to the Apple Store and buy a new one. I'll just walk to the office, log into my mobile device manager, and make sure that the thing is bricked.
And consent to your structure.
Yeah, and I don't care about you either. So it looks like we're on the same page. So just look into that, like a mobile device manager, where you can download an MDM software on your phone. So if you leave your phone on the Long Island Railroad or someone steals it, you could go back into the software in your portal and you could totally make it a brick. Everything. And I think pretty much everybody should do that, for the most part. Have some sort of mobile device manager or MDM on your phone. All right. Heavy on the cybersecurity topics tonight. Now, if you guys are just joining, what really sparked this conversation was the keynote speech that the CEO of Palo Alto Networks did. So if you type !PANW in the chat, it'll drop the link to the keynote speech. It's called The Future of Cybersecurity and Artificial Intelligence. I think you'd enjoy it. And Palo Alto Networks reports earnings next Monday, according to Troy Atman. All right, let's cross again, and we'll try to see who's coming out of Carnegie Hall. Hey, Joel PM says I'm using Cloudflare. Oh, I think I think Austin Tennis just accepted a job at Cloudflare, I think as an account executive. Cloudflare is a pretty good company too. I believe they trade under the ticker symbol NET, NET. Let's see who's performing. I think he's performing the 17th. Maybe a well-known pianist. It's good to see the city on fire like this. And it's a Monday night. Lots of shows going on, lots of people out, which is great to see. Okay, let's make this left and head down. We'll make our way towards 34th Street. Brad's brain. This Tom is super nice, but there's, yeah, I mean, I think I'm very, very nice to everybody, but I just don't want to tolerate people's BS, particularly if it's at a random. I think I'm a nice guy. I don't bother anybody. All right, we're at the top of the hour here. Let's see what's going on over here. RK, LifeLock. I see all those commercials. I just don't really know anything personally about LifeLock. I think that has to do with something a little bit different though, right? I think this is where all the musicians get out. MS says, is PayPal safe? I think PayPal is safe for the most part. I mean, I would hope. Now, is it true, and maybe some of you would know this more than me. Now, does anybody remember when there was so many scams on eBay where people would sell a product on eBay, or they would collect the payment, and then they would send out a fake product? I think that was happening so much that that kind of sparked the eBay PayPal partnership. Is that true? I mean, I haven't used eBay in so long, but I believe what happens now is, and I think they actually might have broken up that partnership, but back in the day, essentially if you were to purchase something on eBay, the payment processor was PayPal, and it wouldn't release the payment until there was verification that the customer got the product, it was in the appropriate condition. So there was like an intermediary, there was like a third-party trust to handle the settlement and the payment. Mars says, yeah, that's why I switched to Amazon. Yeah, I've never had a problem using PayPal either. I think that's what started the eBay partnership during that time. I got to point this out. So this is an interesting address here. This is 111 Residences, not to be confused with the Steinway Tower. So 111, right, if you look this up on Street Easy, it actually shares the same exact lobby with the Thompson Hotel. Now the units are actually pretty good. It's a new development. You have great views of all of Central Park. However, I will say this, because one of my colleagues was working on a big deal here. The board, the condo board, is set up to where the hotel has the vast majority of the voting rights. So down the line, I'm not saying it could cause a problem, but if the hotel wanted to vote on redoing a major construction, whatever, right? Maybe they wanted to redo the elevator shafts, they wanted to redo the lobby and make it a certain way. Essentially, the hotel would have the last say to what happens, because they automatically, by default, have most of the voting rights. So if you're looking to buy a place at 157, right, not to be confused with, not 157, 111, not to be confused with the Steinway Tower, similar address, that's something you probably need to talk to your attorney about, because that's a hiccup that one of my colleagues just ran into, which killed the deal, by the way. So, there's Chipotle, Bill Ackman. Yeah, the entrance is pretty cool. It's cool because it shares the entrance with the hotel, so you have all the concierge. It's very lively in there. It's quite nice. But 456 is eBay bought PayPal. Really? Hey, David Armstrong says, Tom, PayPal is safe, but there are outliers who will send you an invoice on the platform that is not one that you expected. Oh, New England Crypto says, I'm on eBay right now buying crypto mining supplies. Now, you know what's really sad? We've been having this, really good conversation, which I think is a necessary one, about cybersecurity. And I feel as if a lot of these cyber criminals try so hard and they make these elaborate cyber schemes, where if they just put that effort and that amount of mental fortitude and power into doing something, good for the world, they could probably make 10x the fortune, and they wouldn't have to be on the run all the time. Does anybody feel that way? Because some of these cyber criminals, they're so sophisticated, and they put so much time, so much effort, and they're really talented software engineers, a lot of them, hackers, coders. If they just went to work for a company or started their own, they'd probably make a fortune. Anyway, this is the Steinway Tower we're looking at right here. That is the skinniest residential apartment building in the entire world. Yeah, Nina says, tonight's topic is excellent, much needed within our group. For sure, and if there's any, C-suite people that are watching this stream, I think it would be appropriate to send that keynote speech around to your team. I really do think that would be beneficial. So if you want to listen to that keynote by the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, you could type !PANW, and that's pretty much going to give you a free consultancy about the future of cybersecurity threat protection from one of the best in the business. So I think it's important. Music to relax to, so most of them include the big techs. Mars says, I feel like the hotel prices in New York City are way up than before. Oh, yeah. 100%. There's really two reasons for that I think. Number one, tourism is back 100%. So occupancy at a lot of these hotels are really good. I have a good friend who works at the Park Hyatt. I pretty much know all the concierge there. And they tell me that they're almost at a max occupancy almost every night. Another reason is I think a lot of these hotels are trying to make up for lost time due to the virus, obviously, where a lot of them weren't even in operation. So those two pricing pressures have pushed these hotel rates to ridiculous levels. To your point, I think it'd be very difficult for anybody to find a decent hotel. I'm talking about like a nice hotel, like this one, right? Like a Hilton. How much a night do you think the Hilton is right here? Maybe $290, $300 to $350 a night, something like that. Maybe somebody could look that up. Let's see if we're right on that. But this is actually a really nice hotel, the Hilton flagship. Not sure if anybody's stayed here. This is a really good hotel. And the lobby's brand new. During COVID, it was shut down completely. There was nobody here. If you remember from some of the live streams, I'm not sure who remembers this, but maybe some of you do. Who remembers way back during the pandemic when we would do these live streams, and every night on the stream we would look up at the Hilton Hotel and they would have a heart shape with the lights. So they did that to kind of support the medical workers. So every single room was totally vacant, but they managed to figure out which room lights to leave on so it would form like a heart shape. Who remembers that? That feels like it was 1,000 years ago, but it was only like 4 years ago. Wow, JK is for the Hilton Midtown. It's $650 for that? Wow, that's a lot more expensive than I thought. Barris says it's $500. That's high, man. For the Hilton Midtown, $500 a night? I mean, you might as well just splurge and stay at a 5-star hotel then for that price. But it is a very nice hotel. I'm not saying it's not a nice hotel, but. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams almost every day, starting at 8:30. All right, had to reposition my mic. Look at this classic hot dog stand here. FredX's usually stay at the Peninsula when you go. Peninsula's very nice. Nina says, do I have a cold? No, I don't have a cold. I've had this like lingering thing, and I think I need to drink some water. Hey Carl, what's going on? I'm grateful for you guys too. Thanks so much. Check out this view of 53 West 53rd Street. This is the Momo Tower. Yeah, so I think if you're staying in New York City for over a week, let's say if you're taking a 2-week vacation in New York and you're looking to save money, I would book on Airbnb all the way. Just rent a studio apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment on Airbnb. Because if you, 14 days at $500, that's ridiculous. That's just too much. I mean, look, if you have the money, I mean, by all means. But I feel as if you go to Airbnb, it's better, in my view. Hey, what's up, Theo? Good to see you. I think I said this last night, but thank you so much, by the way, for sending me your book. Appreciate that very much. I have it in the office. And I'm looking forward to reading it this summer. This is the Nürburger Berman. Let's see what kind of food they got here. What does it say? It's kebab. Oh, Turkish food. Right? I think Turkish food. Yeah, and Theo, if you want to drop the link to your book in the chat, please do. Sorry, I'm probably going to be coughing for the duration of the stream. I think I have something stuck in my throat, so. Oh my God. No, it's not. I don't think it's allergies either. I think I just have something stuck in my throat. Terrence's tree pollen, maybe. I really should carry a bottle of water in my briefcase. I always forget though. I usually like to travel light. Someone says, could you make a video going over your tech setup for the channel, says Todd. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple setup. I guess I could just explain it to you quickly. I use an iPhone 13 mini. My God, sorry. That's probably so obnoxious in the microphone, I apologize. So I use an iPhone 13 mini, and then I link up my YouTube through Prism Live. And that'll allow us to broadcast 1080p. So that's really about it. So iPhone 13 mini, the Prism software, and then you API into YouTube, and you're good. Yeah, Broadway Mozart to stop smoking. Yeah, I gotta lay off the vape, right? Joe says, with Airbnb, are you required to stay 30 days or more? Most times, yes, but not all the time. But I mean, just do the cost-benefit analysis, right? So oftentimes, that's why I say if you're going to stay in New York City for 2 weeks, if you're going to stay here for 2 weeks and you're planning on spending $500 a night in a hotel, it's probably better to rent the Airbnb for the entire month, and it's probably cheaper. As crazy as that may seem. You just really kind of got to shop it around. Look at the line for Adele's Famous. Let's cross to the west side. Right by the News Corporation building. Man, look at how crazy the line is tonight. It's usually like this on the weekends, not a Monday night. I mean, look at that. Incredible, right? It's for Adele's Famous Halal. That's the main Fox News studio. You can see the 5 logos on in there. Out and about says, have I ever tried Adele's? Yeah, it's the best halal food in the city, in my opinion, by far. But I won't eat street food again, ever. So these cart guys, any of these, I think it was this time last year, like right around this time last year, I got I probably some of the worst food poisoning I've ever gotten in my entire life by eating at one of those things. So I think the risk outweighs the reward. That's how bad it was. I don't even want to take a chance of potentially getting that again. Hey, Thobs says, hey, I'm new here. Like the stream. How do you keep it eye level? My wife says you're using Meta Ray-Bans. Oh, that'd actually be awesome. If we could, I would, but I don't think you could broadcast in 1080p with the Meta Ray-Bans. We just use a gimbal, like just a regular gimbal. And I think it works okay as a stabilizer. But that's a pretty good idea. Hopefully the technology will evolve where you can broadcast through those Meta glasses. Now it's funny because one of the things we were talking about as we were exploring and doing a deep dive into Apple and Meta's earnings report, particularly with these AR, these augmented reality goggles, right? The Apple Vision Pro and Meta's Quest headset. My only fear with that is technology adoption cycles are accelerating so fast that it's quite possible that by the time the Vision Pro and the Meta Quest headset is actually like total finished product and where users would actually use it quite frequently, they're going to be obsolete. So what do I mean by that? Well, you have companies like Neuralink, Elon Musk's Neuralink, that is literally going to take the use of the device and make devices obsolete. That's kind of my bet. I think over the long term, I think physical devices will become absolutely obsolete. Out and about, thank you for your donation. I will definitely get a water. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. But that's the next step, I think, in the tech adoption cycle. We're not going to have physical devices anymore because we're going to be one with the device. We're going to have complete one-on-one capability with tech, and that's just going to be a chip implant in our brain, and we'll be able to have an augmented reality view in our eyes, essentially. Because if you looked at the most recent demo of the, what do you call it, of the Neuralink chip, it's this 28-year-old kid that was unfortunately paralyzed, I think from the shoulders down, on a really, really horrible skiing accident. They put the Neuralink brain chip in his head. He's made a full recovery, and now he's able to play chess just by thinking about where he's going to move the pieces. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So the year is 2024, and we're able to install a chip in somebody's head to have them move different chess pieces, right? What do you think we're going to be able to do in 10 years? You know, you're going to be able to essentially scour like an AI bot, like a ChatGPT or a Llama 3, instead of having to go to a device and, you know, typing in on ChatGPT or whatever kind of AI bot you're looking for. You'll be able just to think it, and you will be the AI. So that's kind of my bet for the future, is devices are going to be 100% obsolete. There will be no need for hardware because we will be the hardware. We will become one with the hardware. It's kind of crazy, but that's kind of what I think. I don't know, what do you guys think? You think that's a little bit too far-fetched? That everybody will at one point have a chip in their head? I don't think that's too far-fetched, because if you were to go back to 1980 and tell yourself from the future that one day every single person is going to be walking around with the smartphone in their hand at all times, 24/7, 365, people would think you're crazy, right? They'd be like, what? No, nobody's going to be attached to a smart device 24/7. But just think about, project 80 years ahead and imagine yourself 80 years coming back to 2024 saying, hey, we are going to become in singularity with AI. We're going to have a chip in our head. We will become the supercomputer, and there will be no devices. Let's say if you want to watch, you know, I don't know, Blue Bloods, the TV show. I don't know why I thought of that. You'll just be able to think of it, close your eyes, and then it'll just automatically start playing. It's crazy. What do you guys think of this view of the Empire State Building? Pretty cool, right? I've always said The next level in tech adoption just has to do with latency, right? If you think about any software created ever, you want very, very low latency. So think of if you're playing an online game with your friends, right? Let's say if you're playing like Call of Duty online and your character lags, it's like all jumpy and jittery, that's latency. Right now, humans are already supercomputers. And I've used this example many times, but I think it's appropriate to kind of review it again. Before smartphones and before the internet, if you wanted to know who the president of Zimbabwe was, you would have to do some serious diligence, go to a library, read a bunch of books and figure it out, and it'd probably take you about a half a day to figure that out. Now, you could just say, hey Siri, who's the president of Zimbabwe? And boom, it gives you the answer. That's reducing the latency. The next step is we won't even need to do that. You won't have to pick up a device and type that in, who's the president of Zimbabwe? It's going to be instantaneous because you will be hardwired to the internet. It's essentially you're going to be plugged into the internet, so there's going to be no latency. You're going to think of something, you get the answer. And you can have conversations in real time with the internet. I think that's the next step. Esmeralda, do I play Call of Duty? I don't play video games. I'm just using excuse me, using that as an example. Mars says, you remember the dial-up internet? I mean, think about stock trading back in the day. There was no real-time stock quotes. So if people were able to invest and trade successfully back in the day, with all the resources at our disposal, we could 100% do it in today's age. You could probably even argue that too much information is causing people to panic and freak out. Sometimes you could do, analysis paralysis, where you do so much diligence that you're scared to even, make a move. All right, here we are at Bryant Park. I think one Vanderbilt looks pretty cool. Whew, man, it's so peaceful. I know, Paul says I don't really want to be plugged into the Borg collective. There definitely needs to be an off switch. But that kind of seems to be where the things are headed. I don't know. But I think I agree with you guys. No way. NYC Home says my English teacher was shaking his head at my whole presentation because he thought that ChatGPT did the entire thing. Hilarious. Yeah, the LT Prod says Ken Griffin had to talk Harvard to allow him to put a satellite dish on his dorm to get real-time stock quotes. That's wild. It's true too. Hawaii says, I remember the days when nobody carried a smartphone on them and we all had landlines. You know what I'm really curious about? Because I've pretty much, for the most part, grown up with a smartphone, right? Like from middle school on. I honestly don't know how people made plans. And this is probably gonna sound really ignorant and stupid, and I totally get that. But like, how do you guys meet? How did you meet up with each other? Like, it's like finding a needle in the haystack. Like, imagine you were planning a date or something like that, and you're like, yeah, let's meet at Penn Station or Grand Central Station at 5 o'clock. Well, you just walk around in like a needle in a haystack and try to find each other there? I know this sounds really ridiculous, but, you know, bear with my Gen Z millennial experiences here. Because when my phone dies and I have to meet up with a friend or somebody, I'm in like panic mode. I'm like, oh my God, they're never gonna be able to find me. It's gonna be crazy. What did you do? Just show up at Penn Station and sift through these thousands of people that are walking through? Use fax. JK, so we had pagers, landlines. Ozzy's is basically, yeah. No, but let's say you called each other on the landline, right? You're at home. Let's say one person's in Long Island, the other person's in the Bronx. You're meeting your friend at Penn Station at 2 o'clock. Would you guys just assume that you would be there at 2 o'clock? What if one person misses the train and now they're going to be an hour late? What happens? Does the other person just sit there for an hour?
You can do a lot of different types of
So, someone says it's called verbal communication. No, I get that, dude. Oh man, this is so fun. You guys are probably like, this guy is just like such an idiot. But seriously, I mean, I didn't grow up in that time. Like, the way I'm thinking about it is, if I call someone and says, okay, meet me at Penn Station. What if I miss the train and the next train is in an hour? I'm gonna leave my friend hanging in Penn Station for an hour? Like, how do I wait for him? I kind of wish I could teleport back to those days and be in my mid-20s just to kind of see how that experience would be. Someone says life was a lot simpler. Wow, check this out. So Brad's brain says, Tom, my grandfather wrote to my grandmother to meet him under the clock at Union Station. Wow, when he got back from World War II. That's crazy. Yeah, I guess, you know, you adapt to the times you're in, for sure. John says, yeah, I remember going to the mall with my parents. We just picked a time and a place. It was definitely annoying. Yeah, so I mean, think about how much productivity increase that causes, just to have technology. We don't really think about those small things, but they compound into a lot. Just by being able to send someone a text saying, hey, I'm gonna be 10 minutes late, 5 minutes late. Anyway, excuse my ignorance, but it's an interesting question. Someone says you could stop at a payphone to check your voicemail. You could check your voicemail from a payphone? Now, speaking of payphones, I think there's only one operational payphone in the city now, right? I remember when there was hundreds of payphones throughout the city. No one would ever really use them a lot, but I remember them being there. They were pretty much on every street corner, all throughout Penn Station, all throughout Grand Central Station. There's virtually none now. Well, technically, I'll show you guys the new payphones. I'm not sure if anybody knows this, but we technically have new payphones in the city, except they're free. So you can make calls for free. So if you're in, you know, a really tough bind, and let's say your phone dies in the city and you need to call somebody, you just go to these things right here. Let's see if there is one here. I think we'll have to go over one more block. But there's these little Wi-Fi stations that you can make outbound calls from. So that's the new 2024 version of a payphone. Let's see if they have any over here. Wow, Brad, so you could enter your code to check your answering machine at the payphone. That's pretty intuitive, actually. Now imagine the data center that had to store everybody's voicemails. Of course, right as I give the example, I can't find one. Anyway, you'll have to take my word for it. Every couple blocks or so, there's these, they look like these big digital signs. But you're able to get on the internet, you're able to make outbound calls, and I think it's all VoIP. At least I think it is. So it's all voice over IP. What do you guys think? Isn't this just the most beautiful view of the Empire State Building? And it was a collect call if you didn't have a quarter. And so this was only what, 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago? Think about how far along technology has come. It's almost insane. So if we can go from these rotary phones, right, these pay phones, to essentially having everything we need in the palm of our hand, quite literally, I mean, how could you not be optimistic on the next 40 years? Things could get a lot. If I had one big prediction, it's that everybody is severely underestimating the capability of all of these new technologies. Severely underestimating it. Because the adoption curves just keep compounding on each other. It's crazy. I mean, even in 2010, right? 2010, I would say up to 2013, you couldn't even do what we're doing now. You couldn't live stream in 1080p. 4G, when did 4G come out? Because it was 3G, then it was 4G, then it was 4G LTE. So you didn't even have the bandwidth to be able to do this at all. Just 7 years ago. It's crazy. NBA Elias, people used to carry a handful of quarters and dimes. I don't even remember the last time I've held change in my hand. I honestly can't even tell you the last time I've held a physical quarter in my hand. David Armstrong says, Tom, 1996 was the first big and clunky mobile phone that cost $5,000. Crazy. There's a really good research firm. I forget the name of it, but they posted this interesting chart of tech and its relationship to price over time with adoption. And essentially, it's a simple formula. Once you get something at scale, right, if you can produce a mass product at scale, it significantly drives down price. all while the products and services get significantly better. So to David Armstrong's point, I mean, imagine that time where you could have spent $5,000 on that first phone, and now you could walk into the Apple store, you know, spend $500 and get a turnkey mobile phone connected to the internet, and you can pretty much do anything you want for $500. It's incredible. I think another good example would be a TV. Remember the first flat screen TVs that came out? Those things were like $5,000 too. Now you can walk into a Walmart and get a crazy, you know, 50-inch, 75-inch TV for probably like $550. So scalability is very, very important to driving down price. Hold on, I gotta put you guys down. Oh, Mars is talking about LimeWire. See, that I remember. I'm old enough to remember that. LimeWire and FrostWire. Not that I've ever used those. I mean, I would never in a million years ever use that and download hundreds and hundreds and thousands of illegal songs. Not me. But I am familiar with those websites. I also remember the first like sports streaming websites. We talked about this before, but Justin TV, you were able to stream like soccer games, football games, pretty much everything. That's wild. NBA Live's not that long ago. Wall Street trades were called in via landline on the floor of the NYSE. Yeah, the New York Stock Exchange is pretty much just like a relic now. Yeah, there's trading activity that happens, there's market making, but I mean, that's gonna go to zero. Because you don't need it. I mean, you have the internet. And, you know, this is probably going to upset a lot of people. You have Citadel, which provides the most efficient liquid markets ever. And all these other big quant market makers. Essentially, they're liquidity providers. So if you're trying to sell a big block of stock, right? If you're trying to sell $50 million worth of stock, you know, and there's no buyer immediately. Right, Citadel will intermediate that transaction to provide you that instant liquidity to get out, and then search and find the other party to match your trade to. And right now, these are the most liquid, free and fair markets we've ever had, ever, by far. Regardless what anybody wants to say about, you know, Citadel being this big bad wolf. You know, quants and digital market making have made markets very, very liquid. You have lots of liquidity now. You're now in Koreatown, 32nd Street, Korea Way. It looks like there's a Rangers game that's just getting out. Steve says, will they uncap trading hours and open it 24/7? I believe they're voting on that. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be on the wrong side of history here, but I couldn't imagine that's good for anybody. Like, do we really need to be trading 24/7, 365 on the hamster wheel like that? Who knows? And then what does that mean for people who work in the business? Like, let's say if you work in sales and trading at an investment bank. Usually, if you want either some sort of a work-life balance working on Wall Street, and if you're going to work at the major investment banks, sales and trading, you actually have almost next to normal hours, obviously because the market closes, right? Yeah, you may go out with clients late at night, but if you're an investment banker and you're working on a big M&A deal and you need to keep that deal alive, well, you're up working on your deck till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. You could be putting in 120 hours a week, assuming you're working a live deal. So S&T, generally speaking, works less hours than the investment bankers working on like an M&A transaction or an IPO. So for the sake of all of our sales and trading folks out there, we'll vote no to the 24/7 markets. Alright, we're headed over to 5th Avenue now. I heard about that, the LT prod. The settlement time is being shortened by a day now. Hey, Mars Tech, what's going on, man? Yeah, long time no see. Trust you're well. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. We just had, the craziest conversation about cybersecurity. Next week, we're going to have some of the major cybersecurity players reporting earnings, but this week, just to kind of do a quick overview. Tomorrow we have PPE data, or the PPI. Then we have CPI on Wednesday. So 2 big inflation prints coming out back to back. And tomorrow we're going to hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. 2 big earnings reports that I think we need to focus on, and we'll be doing a deep dive into these. Number 1 is Walmart. Number 2 is Home Depot. It's going to be interesting to see how they report after Friday's lackluster consumer sentiment report. Now, if you want a quick preface to earnings, check your email, because Thursday I sent out our free investing newsletter to everybody. If you kind of like the topics that we talk about each and every night, about the financial markets, new emerging trends, we were very heavy on cybersecurity tonight. I think you'd really enjoy our free investing newsletter. So subscribe to our Substack by scanning the QR code on your screen and punching in your email. In this latest report, we included our 2024 summer reading list. So if you're interested in business, finance, I think you're really going to enjoy those recommendations, particularly What It Takes by Steven Schwartzman, fantastic book. And then next Thursday, we'll do a deep dive in all of the other earnings reports. Chris, this time I predict ridiculous shrink at Walmart and Home Depot. So you think theft is going to be a big issue? Now, theft has been a really big issue amongst a lot of these big box retailers, particularly Target. So much so that they've actually had to close down some of their stores right here in New York City. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Target location in East Harlem. That's gone. Bye. No longer. They pretty much robbed that place out of business. Terrible, but it's true. That's actually a really good data point, Chris. That's something we really need to be paying attention to for Walmart and Home Depot. However, Home Depot doesn't really have that problem as much, I feel. But yeah, shrink is a corporate term for theft, essentially. If anybody's ever been into a CVS or a Walgreens in a major city, chances are everything is locked up behind plexiglass now because people steal the toiletries, people steal the deodorant. And so a lot of times it can be very laborious trying to just buy anything at a drugstore, which, unironically, who do you think's a big beneficiary of that? Amazon. We always talk about that one Jeff Bezos interview. I think he was doing a panel at Harvard Business School. And during the early days of Amazon, he did this big data analytics project about friction in the transaction. And that's why now, chances are, if you shop on Amazon, you have one button. It's just buy now, and it automatically orders it for you. So the least amount of friction you could put in between you and the final transaction for your customer, the higher the likelihood, quite obviously, that that transaction is going to go through. And it's even more prevalent now in the instantaneous age we live in. Right? Think about the age of YouTube Shorts, TikToks, attention spans are near zero. People don't have patience. So if you think people are going to wait for a customer service representative to unlock plexiglass so they could buy toothpaste, no shot. You know, that business is all going online. It's all going to go to Amazon, and people are going to order their stuff with one click. They don't have to deal with anybody, and it'll show up at their house in 12 hours. So, but that, if you're a business leader, or maybe you even run a small business, I would highly recommend watching that Bezos talk that he gave at Harvard Business School, because he goes into detail about the exact data where people tend to abandon the cart. So if you can provide a seamless close, seamless transactions, seamless steps, you can probably improve your close ratios. That's actually something we're trying to do right now. We're trying to implement these things in our team here at the Kirsten Jordan team at Douglas Elliman, because time kills all deals. So I'm kind of running this interesting data science project where all the deals we've lost over the last 5 years, I'm going back through the deal notes and compiling the top reasons why the deal fell through. And so far it's legal nonsense. A lot of nonsense back and forth with new development, punch list items, this and that. So if you can get ahead of those problems, or if you could take the top 5 reasons why the deal fell through, project that forward into your next deal to say, let's get in front of these objections now, you're going to improve your close ratio by 25%. And in the real estate business, if we can improve our close ratio by 25%, I mean, the average ticket price of the properties we sell is $2.5 million. That's a lot of money in commissions. You know, that's probably about an extra $1 million in commissions a year you would make by just getting ahead of those common objections that are killing the deal. You know, make the deal more seamless, streamline the deal, put the customer first. So it's a very, very good speech, or talk, I should say. Hey, Tariq Khan. What's up, Tariq? Thank you for joining us. But everybody, I think we will probably call it a night right here, because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. And I'm gonna go to sleep. So if you guys enjoyed the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every single night, roughly starting around 8:30. And we will see you all tomorrow. If you want to sign up for our free investing newsletter, you can scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email. We publish on our Substack every other Thursday. So Stephen Bate, appreciate you. Mohammed, Tariq Khan, have a wonderful night. Hawaii, FredX, Nina, NBA Elias, out and about. Baker 504. Paul, have a wonderful Tuesday tomorrow. New England Crypto, Alexis, Sunshine After Rain, Monica, Emma, Western Mass Dave. Always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Take care, guys. Good luck. Be well. See you tomorrow.